Hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer Scott, and I head up thought leadership for Ogilvy in the United States. And it's my pleasure to talk to you today about something called newsjacking in public relations. Newsjacking is an updated version of a classic public relations tool, which is using a prominent event in the news to get your word out about your brand. So classically, you would find a news event that was relevant to your brand, and you would develop a story that leveraged that news event. Newsjacking is shorter, faster, and often uses social media in the same way, especially Twitter. And so it takes a breaking event in the news and uses social media to associate that event with the brand. It's usually managed by brand marketing and social media teams, either inside a client organization or inside an agency organization. And the objective of the newsjacking is for the piece to go viral. And so to get a lot of people tweeting and retweeting and sharing the tweet itself or the social media post itself. And in that way, achieve a lot of impressions, a lot of positive feeling about the brand. The point of newsjacking is not to tell just the story of the brand, but rather to show that the brand is in touch with breaking news and has often a witty and quite culturally sophisticated take on that news event. Now, due to the fact that newsjacking uses primarily social media and that it relies on a very fast turnaround so that it is being presented at the moment that that event is breaking news, it means that it can be fairly high risk. Certainly more high risk than a conventional story pitch. However, at its best, it can drive a significant number of impressions and very high engagement with the brand. At its worst, it can trigger a backlash, particularly from folks on social media, which can actually do damage to the brand. So probably the most prominent first case of newsjacking occurred during the Super Bowl, the American Super Bowl in 2013. Among other brands, Oreo cookies was very quick to respond using its social media to respond to a blackout that occurred during the third quarter of the game itself. So millions of people were watching on television, thousands of people were in the stadium, and a significant part of the stadium lost power. So the game was delayed for a full 34 minutes. And instead of sitting in silence, the Oreo social media team posted what you see on the screen here. They said, power out, no problem. And they posted a picture of an Oreo, and it said underneath, you can still dunk in the dark. That was one of the very first highly successful uses of newsjacking, because that particular tweet got over 14,000 retweets. It was seen by a vast number of people. Now, Oreo had also spent $4 million to post a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl. Arguably, that tweet, that newsjacked tweet, which cost very little, achieved more impressions and potentially more brand engagement than that $4 million commercial. So I want to show you two other examples so that you get a sense of what newsjacking in public relations is today. On the left, we see from Charmin, which is a toilet paper brand in the United States. and they are newsjacking the Oscars. So what they've said in their tweet is, good luck to the nominees tonight. Don't forget to look down before your speech. And the picture they've posted is of some glamorous dress, obviously worn by potentially a nominee or an Oscar winner. But what's trailing behind the dress is everyone's worst nightmare, a piece of toilet paper that has clearly got hooked on the heel of the unfortunate dress wearer. Everybody can relate to that. It's funny. It situates the brand squarely within the event itself, the Oscars, and it gets a lot of currency and engagement for Charmin. Another example is on the right-hand side of the screen, and this particular newsjacking is leveraging a debate that was on fire for about a week on social media about a dress. A woman had taken a picture of a dress, and nobody could decide whether the dress was blue-black in color or white-gold in color. And there was furious debate. Everybody was talking about it. And so Dunkin' Donuts decided, why don't we be a part of this? And they glazed 2 of their donuts in the contesting colors. And their tweet said, it doesn't matter if it's blue, black, or white gold, they still taste delicious. So that gets a lot of retweets. People enjoy it, they think it's funny, and the brand gets elevated by newsjacking the event. Now, I mentioned because newsjacking is very quick, it's on social media, it relies on a very rapid response to breaking news, it is possible to go wrong. And you have to exercise extremely good judgment when you are engaged in newsjacking on behalf of a brand to ensure that you have hit the right tone and that your comment itself is not insensitive to the news event that is breaking. And a classic example of this occurred back in February 2011, when Egypt was being convulsed by protests and civil unrest. The brand Kenneth, which is a clothing and shoe store, posted a tweet that said, "Millions are in uproar in Cairo. Rumor is they heard our new spring collection is now available online," and they gave the link. Naturally, this was upsetting to a lot of people who were risking their lives and engaging in very difficult protest actions in Cairo. It was seen as making light of something that was incredibly important in the history of Egypt. And there was an enormous backlash. So much so that Kenneth was forced to issue a public apology, which they did again by tweet. And they said, regarding the Egypt tweet, we weren't intending to make light of a serious situation. We understand the sensitivity of this historic moment. So that's an example of how a newsjacking in public relations on behalf of a brand can go wrong. 3 other examples, just so you get a sense of what the right tone is that you need to achieve for a newsjacking tweet. PETA, which is an organization for the ethical treatment of animals, wanted to acknowledge the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday in the United States. And that was fine. But what they did was they didn't just honor the life and legacy of the great civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr., but they put it together with the plight of animals who are being tortured, abused, and neglected. People took exception to this. They felt as if the PETA tweet was hijacking a critical and important American holiday for the sake of their agenda, right? We look below that, we see on the to mark the sudden death of the pop star Prince, Cheerios, the cereal, put a purple screen, which was associated with Prince, and they said, "Rest in peace," which would have been fine, except they made the dot on the top of the I a Cheerio. Again, people felt as if they were taking a tragic and very sad event and using it to promote their product. So that tweet did not do well. Finally, on the right-hand side, a phone company used the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, specifically on the Twin Towers in New York, to showcase front and center their new phone. Again, it didn't work very well. So I hope you can see that newsjacking is something that is here to stay. It's becoming an important component of the public relations of a brand, but that it has to be done with great judgment and care, so that we can make very, very sure that it's done in a way that is sensitive, appropriate to the brand, amusing and positively received by the audiences, and that goes very well for advancing the brand rather than diminishing it. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to talking with you again about some other dimension of public relations.